Mary was born on 5 October 1658 as Maria Beatrice d'Este in Modena, Italy. She was the second-born daughter of Alfonso VIII, the Duke of Modena, and his wife Flora Martinozzi. When she was 4 years old in 1662, her father died and her younger brother, Francesco, would inherit the duchy. Francesco's mother would act as his regent until he came of age. Through a strict mother, Mary received an excellent education, speaking fluent French and Italian, and she would later go on to master English and Latin. Initially, Mary's mother Laura hoped for a match with the young King of Spain, Charles II, but when that match was forthcoming, she would accept the advances made by Lord Peterborough on behalf of James, Duke of York. Mary would marry James by proxy on 30 September 1673. Mary's marriage was blessed by Louis XIV of France, as Modena still lied within the influence of the French. Mary would be greeted much colder in England, as Parliament, which was Protestant-controlled, believed it was a plot by the Catholic Church in Rome against the country. The English public would only refer to her as Mary, and once she was married she was labelled the Pope's daughter. Parliament even threatened to have her marriage to James annulled, which led to James's brother Charles suspending Parliament to ensure the wedding went ahead and to preserve the House of Stuart. Mary was 25 years younger than James. James was afflicted by a stutter and scarred by smallpox. Having not met him before the marriage by proxy, she would first met her husband on the second day of their marriage ceremony on 23 November 1673. Initially, although James was pleased with his bride, the feelings were not reciprocated. Mary at first disliked him and would burst into tears when she was him, but she would soon warm to James. Both of James's daughters had different feelings towards Mary. His younger daughter Lady Anne would dislike her, leading to Mary having to play games with her to win her affection. Mary would also incur minor gambling debts in spite of receiving £5,000 every year, and the fact she also loathed gambling. On the 10th of 1675, Mary would give birth to her first child with James, Catherine Laura, but the child did not survive. Also, being on excellent terms with James' eldest daughter, Lady Mary, she would often travel in disguise to visit her in The Hague in the Netherlands when she married William of Orange. She would be accompanied on her journeys to the Netherlands by Lady Mary's younger sister, Lady Anne. In 1668, following what became known as the Popish Plot, the Duke and Duchess of York were forced into a temporary exile in Brussels, as the Duchess's Catholic secretary was falsely accused in the plot. James, Mary and the Lady Anne would also stay with Lady Mary and her husband the William of Orange, along with their 3-year-old daughter Isabella. During this time, James would have an affair with Catherine Sedley, but she would become distracted when her mother would visit her. James and Mary's self-imposed exile would be cut short when James's brother, Charles, became very sick. They would travel back quickly, fearing that Charles' illegitimate son, James Scott, Duke of Monmouth, may usurp the throne, and also enjoyed the support of the majority in the Houses of Parliament. Charles, though recovered from his ill health and James and Mary returned to court, was perceived as being too soon, and they would be forced into exile for 3 years at Holyrood Palace in Edinburgh alone, as their brother Charles would insist that both Lady Anne and Isabella would remain in London. Following a recall to London in February 1680, James and Mary would return to Scotland, but in a better light, as James was created to the role of King's Commissioner of Scotland. During their second period in Edinburgh, Mary's daughter Isabella would die in February 1681. Her death would send Mary into religious mania, which worried her doctors. King Charles would go on to have the pamphleteer executed. In 1682, the reaction to the Popish Plot had quietened down enough to allow James and Mary to return to England in May of that year. In 1684, James would be admitted again to the Privy Council following the Rye plot in 1682, which plotted to kill both King Charles and James, and place the Duke of Monmouth on the throne as Lord Protector.